Hi guys, this is Notes 51. So we are using Trig to find sides in this one, and in the next one we'll use it to find angles. So a few pieces of vocab here super fast. A given, something that's given to you, is information that the problem gives to you, obviously. So it's the important stuff that they tell you or that they write on the diagram. So we want to make sure that those are information that they give us as well. And then we also have unknowns, and unknowns are like variables. And it's the thing that you want to know, aka the thing that you're looking for. So we want to identify both of those things anytime that they give us a problem, but specifically when we're doing this time. So steps to finding sides. First thing we're going to do is identify the unknown, so that we know what we're looking for, and then also the givens. The things that they tell us. And then using those givens and the unknowns, we're going to decide which trig function to use. So we're thinking about SOHCAHTOA here. We're not going to think about secant, cosecant, and tangent, but in the future you might think about those in another class, especially if you take like a trigonometry class. The third thing we're going to do is write the equation, and then the fourth thing is to solve that equation. So we see a really good example here of this type of problem. So it says, how far is it from the boat to the lighthouse? So it looks like we want to find this distance here. So we want to find that side. I'll call it x in this case. And the unknown that I want to know, therefore, would be x. It's a side length. And then we want to look at our givens. So what I see that they have given to me is 52 degrees. And then they've also given me this side over here. So going from the angle, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write down the things that they give me. So they give me that the degrees are 52 degrees. And then they also tell me one of the other sides. So from this angle, I'm going to go ahead and mark what my opposite, my adjacent, my hypotenuse are. So here, this would be my opposite. My hypotenuse is my longest side. And then the side that's left over is my adjacent. And this is going to help me to identify what x is and what 30 is. So in this case, I know that x is my hypotenuse. Right, so they tell me my hypotenuse, and they also give me the number 30, and I know from labeling it that that's the adjacent. Right, so knowing those two things is going to really help me in step 2 when I have to choose. So I see that I have information or need information about the adjacent and the hypotenuse. So I don't have any about opposite, so I can't use side. I have adjacent hypotenuse, that one looks great. I don't have any opposite, so I know that one's gone, so I know I'm going to use my cosine. Right, so step 3 was write an equation. I always start with using either sine, cosine, or tangent here. This is going to be my angle, or my theta, and then this here is the fraction. Right, so I want to make sure that it's always in that format. So we already decided it's going to be cosine. The degrees that they gave us were 52 degrees, and we know with cosine it's adjacent over hypotenuse. So I'm going to use my adjacent, which is 30, over my hypotenuse, which is x. So now I have a completed equation. I'm going to write that in my box for step 4. Cosine 52 degrees is equal to 30 over x. And then I'm going to go ahead and do cosine 52 degrees on my calculator. So I'm going to press the cosine button and then 52, press enter. And that gives me 0.6156 and some other decimals equals 30 over x. From here I see that I need to get x out of the denominator, so I'm going to multiply both sides by x. That helps me to cross out x from there. I have 0.6156x equals 30. I'm going to divide by that decimal in order to get x by itself. So 30 divided by 0.156. So my calculator, I'm going to type 30 divided by my answer, my decimal. And that's going to give me 48.728. There are other decimals, but I rounded that one using 3 decimal places. So this is going to be my answer. I'm going to check for my units here. In my problem it said miles, so I know that this is miles as well. And that would be how I solve example 1. We're going to do largely the same thing every single time. So we're going to follow these 4 steps. Find the unknowns and the givens, choose an equation, write that equation, and then solve the equation. So we'll do example 2 together, and then you guys can do example 3 on your own. So for this one, we want to find out what we want to know. So we want to know x, right? We want to know x, and they tell us 32 degrees, and they tell us 13 degrees. So going from my angle, I'm going to label things. I'm going to say, okay, this is my opposite, my hypotenuse, and my adjacent. So I know that my x is my opposite, and 13 is my adjacent. So I'm looking for one of these that has opposite and adjacent in it. I see that that is this one here. I can't use these because they don't have, or we don't have any information about our hypotenuse. So I'm going to write my tan here. The degrees that goes with is 32 degrees. And I know that this is opposite over adjacent. So I'm going to write x over 13. That's my equation. So I'm going to go ahead and write it down here. Tan 32 equals x over 13. I know that anytime I see division, I have to use multiplication to get rid of it. So I get rid of it there. Get x equals, and then I'm going to go ahead and do this on my calculator. 13 times tan 32. Tan 32, just in case you're wondering, is 0.6248 ... I'm going to multiply those together, and I get 8.123. Again, there are more decimals, but I wanted to round. And that's pretty much it. You have example 3 here. You can do this on your own. Do it yourself for my non-listeners. Anybody else? Thanks for watching. Bye.